Recent times, I have been watching some action thrillers and even some dramas where the administrative or commanding characters or the people who basically work under the government were depicted in a bad manner. I don't like to say bad, but the makers designed them in an irrational manner, especially cops. No attack or disrespect here, but I guess some filmmakers are on a pursuit to damage and ruin the image of cops in our society. Like these guys are taking revenge for all those fine receipts they got from cops or something. There is a man who distinctively made 3 movies and stood out among all those who attack cops for no reason. Here, not only the script takes bad cop characters every time, you can actually think of the other side. That's what GVM did. Today, I am gonna talk about the legendary Cop trilogy made by Gautam Menon, starring Surya, Kamal Haasan and Ajit Kumar respectively. This is the first part of the trilogy series, and in this video we'll talk about the big hit Kaka Kaka, a blood-stained, gut-breaking, seat-edge cop thriller which makes me go with awe every time I watch it. Gautam made this film possible only by making a perfect final draft and inspiration from a lot of Hollywood movies. Let's analyze this in a technical manner, then I will conclude and give my impressions about the movie. The film is introduced in a manner that no Tamil director or producer would allow the team to make this trippy fall down of a protagonist at the first scene itself. Right now, let's just look at that anatomy of one of the best introduction scenes in Tamil cinema. We get to see this blood-soaked person jumping out of the window of some Lakeview resort building, I guess. He drowns suddenly, and this is definitely not a situation to introduce the love of his life with a song. When I watched the movie while I was a teenager, I actually got irritated by Virin Vire's song, but then I noticed the lyrics of the song while watching it now, a couple of days back. If you look at the lyrics, you'll see the existential dread created by his only bond of his entire life, which was with the woman Maya, and not the scary antagonist who's gonna kill her eventually. That was some poetry. Those trippy, orgasmic montages of them killed my heart with soul essence, which is love. Then he gets to the shore, wounded by 2 bullets, striving for survival, and that's where we get to introduce to the protagonist with a voiceover. Most of the GVM's narration comes through voiceovers, which is his style apparently. I found nothing wrong with that. It actually gave some poetic sense to the movie. Next, we get a flashback story about ACP Anbutchelvan, played by Surya. He's a stunning, rugged, youthful police officer who lives alone, and his teammates, 4 of them, team up every time at every occasion, leading the story with details of the local gangsters who are rogue and they run around killing police officers and politicians. Also, they attempt illicit activities and eventually they end up dead after 30 minutes of the movie. There is this one guy, Sedu, who manages to still run the empire with his ally, Pandya, who is his brother, which is revealed after some time. Series of events and a kidnap happens. Then the ransom bearer is planned to arrive at a railway station where police camouflage into the crowd. Rogues arrive. Then there is this hardcore encounter scene which is dark and nail-biting, and the police manages to kill Sedu, but somehow Pandya escapes alive without any bullet wound. As all you guys would have known and expected, wounded animal Pandya thrives to confront Anbutchelvan. He doesn't want to kill him. He wants to torture her lover Maya until death and leave Anbu, his lover's brutally murdered corpse. Okay, I guess I'm telling you guys the story of this movie. Back to the analysis. The setup for this movie is actually the entire sequence. I mean, the entire movie until Maya's kidnap scene. We get to see each and every scene of profit, happiness, romance, losses, and grief in the flashback sequence. Now all we have to witness is whether our protagonist will win or not. A sharp and simple narrative will definitely keep our eyes to the screen. Gautam's screenwriting magic works here. He just doesn't pull us into the story to follow his characters, and that will be boring and the movie will fall into usual straight narration technique. Instead of that, he foreshadows the Maya's kidnap scene's outcome, and with the existential thought-provoker song Virin Vire, he just kicks our curiosity to high level. Adding up, he induces anxiety by making something happen to Maya, pumps our adrenaline by making proper confrontation scenes at proper time intervals, and finally he pacifies our heart by giving us a satisfying end. See, we cannot simply say it's a cat and mouse game, since there's this beautiful existential angle to it. Every experienced cop has met with traumatizing incidents, and all they can do is proceed with protocols, and there's no personal space or even anxious thinking about the case. They simply arrest or shoot the criminal or do whatever they want, but only according to the protocols. So here in the introductory arc, we see the exact same thing, but with some masala-induced dialogues. It does look cool. The attachment our protagonist has is with his profession, and then boom, Maya enters his life. Regardless of what he possesses or what he's gonna do about his fleeting life, he simply falls in love with her, and the moment they get intimate is so beautiful and it's satisfying to watch. Usually, Tamil cinema's female characters weren't supposed to move the plot as it would lessen the income of the big star or the main male lead, but here Gautam really respects women. Gautam always does that in his movies, which I respect, but sometimes he can be a terrible simp. The female lead is the essential core of the story, I think, and is one of the reasons for protagonist's mere existence. She sounded cool throughout the movie, and no wonder Surya married her later. Speaking of the antagonist, Pandya delivers a terrific but subtle at the same time. The psychopathic traits of him reminded me of the movie 7. We here also get a what's in a box scene. Okay, let me conclude here. Kaka Kaka is a good film, and I personally would recommend to all types of audiences. Kaka Kaka is a single episode of a policeman's life, and the groundedness of the film is really appreciable irrespective of its length. The Maya character does great justice to the story and stood up to the plot, supported the protagonist at every level. Even the villain Pandya has some small arc, even though he appears merely after 45 minutes of the film. He never places his hands over a woman, but eventually after his brother's death, he deviates, and there comes a cunning metaphor placed by Gautam. Touch a woman, see you in heaven.